You have entered a world of wit and weirdness, of humor and horror. This is Channel Ab3. Greetings, I'm Bruno III, the mastermind behind this podcast. I'd like to share that in addition to crafting bizarre and whimsical tales, I'm also involved in the world of real estate. Whether you're in the market to sell your home, find a new one, or explore real estate investment opportunities, don't hesitate to get in touch with me at Bruno III@kw.com. And now, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Sweet Nothings was written by Bruno III. It was read by Mr Dark510.
The hotel desk clerk's baggy eyes widen at the mere mention of the number. 732. You don't want that room. Every year was the same thing. A different clerk with the same questions. Ordinarily, I endured the excuses, but this year's pilgrimage had been particularly unpleasant. The car had coughed, sputtered, and threatened to die at every rest stop. The clouds had been loaded and full of rain. Rainy days were always the hardest, so I nipped the discussion in the bud. With an offhand gesture, I tossed a wad of bills on the counter and spoke again. Room 732, please. You don't give me room 732 for the night, and you can keep the change. For a moment, the expression on the desk clerk's face was almost comical. Then he swiped the bills out of sight and slipped me the key. Turning away from the counter, I headed down the familiar maze of hallways. I swear, I could feel the desk clerk's unspoken questions burning in my back. Why that room? Haven't you heard the stories? Aren't you afraid? I made sure I was out of sight before he had decided to ask any of them. When I had first came here, no, not I. When we had first came here, this was a 4-star establishment, with brightly lit hallways, working elevators, even room service. The elevator had stopped working 3 years ago, and when the bulbs of the hallways burnt out, no one bothered to replace them. I pushed the door to the stairway open. Figures crouched in the murk, grunting half-heartedly. Bypassing them, I headed up the stairs, debris crunching underfoot. I was out of breath by the time I reached the 7th floor. No surprise there, really. I'm not a young man anymore. Sometimes, I wondered to myself why the hotel had fallen out of favor so quickly. It couldn't be just the fact that someone had died here. After all, people died in their hotel rooms all the time. Maybe it was the way she died. Perhaps the horror of her final moments were so profound that it permeated every floor and hallway. Maybe the slumbering business travelers and vacationing families would wake up at exactly 1:49 a.m., their hearts beating wildly and their sheets drenched in sweat. Maybe it was nothing more than the new, more conveniently located off-ramp that cut the whole section of the city out with the tourist trade. The sound of the 7th stairway opening was high and shrilling, like a woman's scream. Frowning, I trudged down the hallway, listening to the patter of the leaky ceiling. I found the familiar suite and slipped the key into the lock. The door resisted for a heartbeat, then swung open. For a moment I stood there, staring into the shadowed, empty room, torn between the instinct to run and the vows I had made. This, like the bickering with the desk clerk, is a ritual for me. The light stayed off. I knew the geography here all too well. Closing the door behind me, I crossed the room and sat on the musty bed. It was funny. In a way, after almost a decade, I still trembled at this moment. For a time, I stared into the gloom, watching the darkness churn. Then I closed my eyes and replayed visions of broken locks, police tape, and dried blood over and over in my mind. A shudder worked its way up my spine. I could almost imagine her kneeling on the bed behind me, her slender arms wrapping around my back. "I miss you," I said, my voice reverent yet uncertain. Of all the rituals I observed on this terrible anniversary, this was the most important. I wish I had came back sooner. I wish I had been there. I wish. From out of the darkness, her voice was at my ear.
I know.
This is Channel AB3, was written and produced by Bruno III. Sweet Nothings was written by Bruno III. It was read and produced by Mr Dark510. Our unpaid scientific advisor is Adam J Thaxton. The Channel AB3 theme was written and performed by Rachel F. Williams. The Channel AB3 logo was designed by Antonio G. If you're enjoying the show, please consider following the link in the show notes and becoming a one-time donor or recurring subscriber. Your support really helps. And speaking of things that really help, please consider leaving us a review wherever you can. Reviews really help people find the show. This is Channel AB3, is distributed and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you later.